Good evening, everybody. Are y'all able to hear us out there?
Their sound.
Okay. Just making sure before we start rolling and have to go back. Good evening, everybody. Um, Thank you for joining us tonight. Tonight we are going to be doing a little, I guess you could call it an interview. I keep forgetting the actual word we used. Um, with Alli. She is one of the three applicants for one of the two member. She's one of the two applicants for one of the two member at large positions that will be voted on this coming weekend for the ATC annual election for the board of directors. Um, just a little bit on how tonight's meeting is going to be set to work. This is going to be the first time we've done it, as we're trying to implementing some new policies here. First little bit of the meeting is going to be given. We're going to hand that off to Alli so that they can give any kind of speech, presentation, whatever else that they would like. After that, we're going to reserve the following 30 up to 30 minutes for questions from the board to them. And then following that, we will open it up to the general membership for any questions from them. Those can be posted in chat. They don't have to be emailed to us or anything. Um, and we can go from there. Does anybody else in the comments or the meeting have any other questions or clarification on anything?
It does look like Kevin's asking you to pump up the volume.
Yep, already got that. Hopefully that's a little bit better. Let's go with that there. Okay. All right. I'm not hearing anybody in the chat or in the comments with any other questions just yet. Almost here, but hold on before we go. One more. Let's crank that up one more time. Bip-a-doo. Testing, testing. Alrighty, can you hear me better now?
I've always been able to hear you.
Oh, well, thank you. Okay.
I didn't have a choice.
Ouch. Okay, so I will hand it off to Alli then.
All right. I figured I'd probably just go ahead and read the statement that I sent over to the secretary when I put in my interest to run for this role. It's been a tough year and then some for ATC and all the branches within it. Moving forward from here is going to take some hard choices, some detailed evaluation, and the will to do what needs to be done to carry us forward from here. As a longtime Detour staff member and veteran of CONCOM and operations, as well as an ATC member who's been regularly attending the board meetings for several years now, I am in a solid position to do these things. I know what's going on. I know what the different branches are and what they bring to our community. On Detour staff, my roles have involved a lot of detailed organizational skills, evaluation to improve processes, make sure that they're working well, make sure that they're working well with all the people who are involved. And attending the meetings with the board, I've kept myself well informed as much as possible for someone who's not on the inside at this time of everything that's going on, everything that's going to be coming up in front of us going forward. It's not going to be an easy time to be on the board. I'm aware of that. I'm prepared to deal with that. I'm prepared to make the decisions that ensure that ATC and all its branches keep pushing through and get through this, come out on the other side strong. I've seen the benefit that all of our different branches have to the public. I've seen, people having a great time at SOS events. I've seen the good work that's done by charities. I've seen the great outreach done by communities, all this great stuff that we've been able to do. And I want to help make sure that we can continue to offer that to our community. And that's basically what I have to say.
Thank you for that. Next, we will move on to the questions from the board. I'll get us started off. What changes would you like to see in the way that ATC operates?
One of the biggest things I'd like to see, I know this has been brought up back and forth over the past year, it's been a bad time for it, and it's going to be tricky going forward, but making sure we have more than one source of revenue for the organization. Right now, we're very dependent on only one of the branches for funding everything that we do. And when that branch isn't able to do what it does and bring in any money for us, we're kind of left in a tight spot. So going forward, looking at different avenues where we can bring in more funding at an organizational level that we can then in turn put back into our other branches, make sure that they can be funded to the amount that they need to be funded, to bring the good that they bring to the community out appropriately. Sorry, I stumbled over that a little at the end. I see a hand from Ashley.
Yes, so you just stated, having to make hard choices and doing what needs to be done as part of your statement. Do you have any examples as to what would be a hard choice that we're foreseeing, or, something that needs to be done?
A lot of the hard choices are going to be financial. We might have to make some decisions where we have to cut something that we'd prefer not to cut. And even if it's just a temporary cut, that's still gonna hurt someone somewhere. But making sure that we can continue forward, and hopefully whatever we cut, we bring it back in the future. Whereas if we collapse, nothing comes back in the future. I think we have to weigh those options, see where we can make those cuts, see where we can find ways around that if possible. But make those hard choices where we might have to at least temporarily let go of something in order to ensure the survival of the rest of the organization. I see Troy with a hand up.
So, sort of along similar lines, but perhaps more of a more difficult landscape is maybe something that isn't quite as temporary. With an organization as old as ours, folks have sort of established what may have been, what may be. They've identified certain things with either a branch or the organization as a whole. And obviously, those are things that, for better or worse, depending on folks' opinions, do fluctuate and change over time with the times. Part of a board member's responsibility can be explaining those changes to somebody that might not like those changes. So where we may have had to make hard decisions that might not be temporary, might not be something that we're going to be able to bring back in the foreseeable future or something like that. So how can you see yourself being able to explain to somebody that, well, this isn't the detour of old, it's changed so much. I still want to be involved, but it's so much different now. And there may not be a right or wrong answer, but it is something that, even from my time on the board, you find yourself needing to explain the need for these, changes that people can see as extreme, and needing to be able to explain the reason why these changes are, and how they do benefit the organization. But it can be a bit of an uphill battle. And is that something, I guess, not looking for how you might do it, but is that something that you're comfortable doing? Because it can be, there may not be a right or wrong answer to give to people. It can be a losing battle, but it might be something you're cornered and tasked to do from time to time.
Yeah, there's definitely things where emotions can run very strong. I think the only real way to deal with those kind of things is just to be honest, explain why we're doing this change, but also, be open to their feedback. And even if they have suggestions on how to do something better, we've got a lot of people in this organization with a lot of good ideas. So being open to hearing their side of whatever the issue may be as well, and not just dismissing it that, we've made the choice to deal with it.
Thank you.
Right, Hotura?
Hello. I just wanted to ask, since you were on that boat, are you able to keep your emotions in check and make a logical decision? And can you give us an example of when you were able to, even though you felt emotionally strong about something, but you made the logical decision instead?
As much as possible, yes. Think probably gotta think about that one.
Yeah.
One that does kind of come to mind, the last time we were able to actually get together for Anime Detour. I had an individual who came into the operations area who was very upset over some bootlegged art that she'd found and being used by one of the presenters that we had. Not to go too deeply into it or throw anyone under the bus on this. As someone who has worked in artist alleys, who's worked in art, and is very sensitive to stolen art, it would be very easy for me to throw that group under the bus for stealing art. Instead, I made sure that I, swallowed that down, got all the information I could out of this individual, got what I could from other individuals who were involved in it, and made sure I passed that along to the right department to actually handle it, rather than getting real hot about it myself. Which, I still feel fairly strongly about this, that they shouldn't have been doing that. But again, I'm not going to throw them under the bus. I'm not going to go and do anything with it myself. I'm going to pass that along to the right person to deal with it.
Okay, thank you.
I'll jump in here with the next question. Do you believe you have an understanding of the legal responsibilities of a board member? And if so, could you describe them a little bit?
I have some that I've gathered from observation and some research. Absolutely, if elected, I will definitely do even more, even further research. There's some great resources that are out there, particularly for Minnesota nonprofit boards, but even for nonprofit boards in general, that I've found. Terrific ways to really get a good breakdown of what the legal responsibilities are.
Okay. Dave?
Who did I know? So, Alli, hello. In your opinion, as you know, financially, we're not as strong as we've been in previous years. What was the main reason for that?
I would say the main reason for that was, back to what I mentioned previous, are dependent on a single revenue source, which is Anime Detour, which hasn't been able to happen for 2 years now, unfortunately. That's why one of the things I would like to look into, if elected, is trying to expand how we bring in additional revenue so that we can continue doing what we're doing. Because there are sources of outflow that don't go away, like the storage locker for all the ATC equipment doesn't go away. Things like paying for the website, that's not going to go away, and those are things we can't cut. But we do need to have money coming in to take care of those expenses that we can't cut in some fashion or another. Tristan?
So a little bit of a little kind of an off branch to that. So I have a two-parter. Can you explain either the relationship between ATC as an organization and its various branches?
ATC is kind of the coordinator of these branches, so to speak, not coordinator in the sense that we use it for the leaders of those branches, but the one who oversees them, facilitates the finances for them, in many cases helps provide the space where they function, helps make sure that they have funding for any activities that they might want to do. For those that do cost money, for instance, the cosplay on ice activities, can help to make sure that they have staff and even help to make sure that they do have their coordinators, their leadership in place, provide a resource for them to get help with anything they're working on.
Okay. And then the second part of my question, because I know you do have some experience with branches outside of just Detour. Just to the best of your understanding, could you explain what each of those branches are and what they do usually?
Well, this is the quiz where I have to remember all of the branches. Well, there's SOS, the Social Outreach Services, runs a lot of really fun activities outside of Detour. So, like the cosplay on ice that I mentioned, along with the swap meet events that happen a couple of times a year that I've forgotten the name of. I'm sorry. Other events like little free mini conventions, basically, different club get-togethers, things like that. I believe Communities is what clubs was under previously, so that's things like the Go Club and those kind of activities that are kind of helping to coordinate an additional group to get together and do fun cultural things that they enjoy, get together and have a sense of community there as well. We've got Charities, which takes our funding from things like our charitable donations and charity auction, things like that, helps distribute those. I guess not the charity auction. That gets distributed separately. But it takes those charitable funds that we've collected, determines which groups to distribute them to, determines how much each one of those groups will get, and handles the distribution of those funds. Let's see what else. I'm forgetting someone in there. Forgetting, it's like the social media branch is still its own, right? That's not under Communities.
Yep, that would be communications.
Communications, thank you. It was close to Communities, that's where I was getting mixed up. Yeah, so they handle social media posting, communication with the broader community in the area, those type of things. And forgot with Communities also, in addition to clubs, they do outreach at different events and those kind of things too, which I actually got to go to some of those back in the days when we could do that. Those were a lot of fun. It's great to see, what kind of groups we're helping out, and it's great to see how they feel about us and even get more people interested in all the cool stuff that we're doing.
Sorry, just going through my questions here to see what else we got on the list. Do you feel that as a board member that, or I should say as a board applicant, that it is important for people in your position to regularly attend the board meetings? If so, why?
As an applicant, I think it is important because it's good to know what's going on. I'd encourage anyone, even if they're not interested in applying for the board, to attend the meetings, because it's useful to know what's going on at a broader scope than just the micro level of whichever branch you may be actively part of, whether that's Detour or SOS or one of the others. It's also a good way to really learn about what the other branches are doing and even start getting involved with what they're doing. It's how I ended up getting involved in helping out with a lot of the SOS events, which was great. I love doing that, and I hope I get to do that again someday in the future.
Another question that just kind of popped up into my mind. So in the last couple months, we put through a bylaw revision. It was kind of some have said it's a bit of an overhaul of what was the existing system. With what we have in place now, could you give me an example, if you're familiar with them, of a bylaw that you support, and the one that you think we might want to change?
Oh, that is a big pop quiz there.
Oh, trust me, a few of us have them on hand, open in a tab, or printed off next to us, usually for reference.
Yeah, I'm gonna actually pull them up here. I remember going through them rather extensively in the meetings and even having a lot of feedback, but being able to now at this point recall any of that is a little bit challenging. Yeah, so actually as I'm scrolling through here, one that I do like is what we have about making sure that we're communicating any amendments to the rules to everyone. I think that kind of transparency is actually really very important to make sure that everyone knows what's going on and has a good sufficient chance to really see what's happening. As far as updating, I think actually after the really big review, we're in pretty good shape. Watching as things go into practice now after that review is a good way to find anything that needs some additional updating, like the update to the quorum rules that was a little more recent. But that hefty review of everything was actually really beneficial to making sure that our bylaws are actually in good shape and don't have really a lot of shaky points like they kind of did previously. Troy?
So, hold on a second here. So, looking at, you were talking about encouraging folks to attend board meetings, it being a good way to know what's going on with the parent organization, also getting updates from the other branches as well. Hearing some of the decisions getting worked through, or hearing some of the discussions leading up to some of the decisions being made. Hearing the upcoming topics that are going to be discussed, all of that sort of thing. Even before going to virtual events, and even before those meetings counting towards voting rights themselves, which hasn't seen an overwhelming boost in attendance. So that's sort of being twofold. What sort of things would you say that we could do to increase that interest and attendance, as even just from an organizational staff engagement? We probably hover around the 300 mark, and probably have 10% engagement roughly. So if we wanted to increase even just awareness of what's going on in the organization, increase interest, maybe even the voting pool, but at least the interest and engagement. What sort of ideas would you have? How could we reach out via Facebook, social media? We mentioned the things at the detour staff meetings to lead into the ATC staff meetings. Anything within you to spearhead additional ideas of how we can draw people in to increase that awareness of what's going on with the parent organization?
Yeah, so definitely communicating the information about the upcoming meetings is good. Communicating some of what's scheduled to be discussed at them can definitely help a lot. I know the reason I started coming was because I wanted to become engaged in the discussion for the charitable disbursements. And so after I came to that first meeting, I found, I decided that I would actually continue coming after that, because it was a good experience, because I left feeling more informed than I had been previously. So by helping to make sure people know not only what happened at the last meeting, but what will be happening at the next meeting, so that they can say, hey, that's a discussion I'd like to be involved in, or that's something that I'd like to know more about, I think I'll come to this meeting. In addition to that, one of the things that helps me the most with knowing when things are happening at an ATC level is the Google Calendar, and making sure that I have that linked into my own personal Google Calendar.
Mm-hmm.
So making sure people know you can do that. Here's the link where you can add this to your personal calendar, so that all of these events are automatically added in there, so they don't forget, oh, that's right, there was a board meeting last week and I was going to go to that, but I totally forgot to put it in my calendar. Well, now it's automatically there. That's actually pretty awesome.
Okay. Thank you.
Since nobody's talking, I was just kind of wondering, Alli, you've ran for this position before, and you didn't get the position, and I'm really glad that you didn't get disheartened, didn't try again. I'm really glad to see that you're trying again. I'll be very honest with you. From your last interview to this interview, I do see an improvement in your answers. Your answers are more detailed. It seems like you have a clear motive of why you want to be here. Can I ask, why do you want to become a board member? Like, why should we vote for you?
Well, if I'm being totally honest, I was asked to run again. I was waffling on whether or not to actually go ahead and do it, and by people having faith in me and asking that I do it, that was the push it took to actually have me go ahead and apply. I do think that I can do what needs to be done over do what might be popular. People may not reelect me after that, but that's okay. as long as the organization continues to survive. That's what I'm really in it for. I want to be able to see us continue forward into the future and, get back to even a stronger footing than what we were back in 2019.
Definitely.
Just a heads up, there's a 5-minute warning.
Joy, is your hand up, or did you forget to put it down from the last one?
I think I forgot, but I can play a little bit off of sort of what, sort of in response to what you said. You talked about sort of doing what's popular and doing what's right, and that's always can sort of always kind of become an issue. So I guess my question is how comfortable are you not only in doing that as a board member, but sort of twofold in being able to I guess how comfortable are you in being able to do that in a board setting? And sometimes those votes come up a bit suddenly. You're asked to give your yes or no or abstain, and there may not have been as much discussion as you would like, but it's not something that goes on for hours and hours. And with the weight of knowing, that you're not just voting for what your personal preference is, but that you are literally the voice of the membership. That's who you're voting for in what you think the membership would like you to vote for, and doing what is in the best interest of either them, the organization, the branches. What's in the best interest? How comfortable are you in doing that in sometimes, I wouldn't say a rushed environment, but you are asked, something is motion seconded, and you do have the option to abstain. You're not asked to explain why you're abstaining. It's your prerogative to do so. But sometimes it can come. Yes. What is your vote? And you either raise your hand or not, or abstain.
Yeah, I think I would, as I said, do my best to try to do what was in the best interest of all of our membership, not just one subset or one branch, but try to pick whatever will benefit everyone the best. If I don't feel like I could make that decision, I would abstain actually from the vote.
Okay, thank you.
That's because I felt we need more discussion, which I would bring up if I felt we needed more discussion.
Mm-hmm.
Or if I just felt, maybe I feel like there's no right answer to it, or we don't know what the answer is going to be, I might abstain in those situations as well.
Okay, thank you.
So I have one last one for you. In the last couple years, we've had some rough situations with a couple of the previous board members. Some people had some problems, and they weren't sure how to handle them. If elected, how might you handle a situation with another board member you're having a problem with?
If I can't discuss it directly with that person, probably the next person I would go to might be actually just go ahead and go to the president, ask their advice, or go to another trusted board member, ask their advice for how to handle whatever the issue may be. Just sitting there and stewing in it is not going to help anyone. Getting into a fight's not going to help anyone either. So finding a trusted third party who can be as neutral as possible in the situation would probably be the best way, the ideal way to go about it if things can't be resolved directly.
All right then. Okay. Thank you very much for that. Do any of the other board members have any questions before we wrap up here and we move on to the any questions from the membership? Alrighty. Thank you very much for taking our questions, Alli. It was very appreciated, and I definitely think this is very enlightening. So at this point, we will be moving on to questions from the membership. We're reserving up to the next 30 minutes, so we don't have to take the full 30 minutes if people don't have nearly as many questions. So I will go ahead and hand it over to you. I know you said you had the YouTube chat open. Just as a reminder, we do have a little bit of a like a delay between what we see and what we send out. So.
How long do we give it? I'm sure people are typing.
Yeah, I was gonna give it about 5 minutes just because
Okay.
people
I do have a
typing and
timer.
stuff. Yeah,
I do have a timer going.
yeah. I don't want to sit here waiting for everybody, but got to give people a chance to think and type. So, yeah, we'll give it about 5 minutes, and if nobody has any questions, then we can just wrap it up.
Think faster, guys. Just kidding. Don't.
We need some,
Bring go-go juice.
Yeah. No, I was gonna say something. Unlicensed music. That's what we need.
Little Jeopardy theme.
No, Jeopardy is not unlicensed. Jeopardy is licensed. You'll get flagged.
Yes, it is.
You need that open license stuff that they use. In the
Yeah.
back.
I feel like
YouTube video.
What
I
about
feel
that?
like
What about that
Ruth
lo-fi?
sent you a whole bunch of open license music. I don't know what's in there.
That he did.
I forgot he sent everybody who is open license.
Yeah, that he did. I will have to prepare some of that. I'd have to go dig up the link.
I have a cat just staring at me.
So while we wait for while we wait for any questions, I did actually have another one that just kind of popped into my head. So as most of us do, we serve several positions. One as a board member and one as a staff under a branch of ATC. In most of our cases, that would be under Troy with Anime Detour. Being a board member does put you in a position of serving above him, as well as in some capacity below him as one of his staff members. Is this something, because it has been raised as a concern in the past, something like a conflict of interest? Do you feel this is something that you would be able to handle adequately?
I think so. I've never really had any problem telling Troy what I think before. So I don't think that would change now. And similarly, I don't have any problem listening to what he has to say and, as necessary, going along with that.
I think what Tristan was trying to get at was, are you able to separate the two roles?
I think so, yeah. As much as anyone can anticipate something like that, I believe I would be able to separate those two roles, be able to tell him what I think as a board member, and, you know, trust him that he wouldn't be, you know, that he would also be separating the roles and wouldn't be saying, oh, you didn't vote for this thing I wanted, so now I'm going to take it out on your department.
Okay. Thank you for that, and thank you, John, for the clarification. Wording is not always my strong suit.
You're welcome.
That's why I have friends in backup.
Did I?
You have backup, not friends.
Co-workers and backup who I can trust.
Did I
Sorry, I
actually
don't know why I
interpret your
keep
words?
poking jabs at you.
Yes, you did actually. Yes, thank you.
Okay, you're welcome.
So at this point, actually, I think it's been in the neighborhood of 5 minutes.
Yeah, we haven't had any new questions.
Yeah, you're in about 15 seconds. So
Okay.
yeah.
So at this point, since it looks like we don't have any questions from any of the membership in the YouTube chat, unless anyone here in the video call has any other questions. Troy, I don't know if you still got your hand raised or if that's a new hand raise. Then otherwise, yeah. If nobody else has any other questions, I think we can wrap up tonight's little meeting. Any objections? All right. Thank you for your time tonight, Alli. It was very appreciated. Your answers to your questions were very enlightening. They were very thorough. That's very appreciated.
Well done.
Thank you.
All right. Thank you, everybody in the chat. So that brings an end to tonight's meeting. Just as a reminder, tomorrow, same time, same channel, 6:30, we will be doing the same situation, another meeting we will be having with Amy, who was our other applicant for the member at large position. And then same thing on Thursday, we will be having a meeting with Dave, who was our applicant for the president position. We hope to see you all there. Don't be afraid to have any questions. We're gonna be asking a lot of questions ourselves. If you guys do have any other questions or concerns or anything for us in the meantime, please feel free to shoot us an email, and we will do our best to get you an answer or a solution in the short time frame that we do have. Thank you very much, and you guys all have a great evening.